Hello again, this is Wednesday and continuing the Leading Ladies 1 Year On series where I've been chatting to the various women in my book. And today is a slight anomaly because we're talking to not a woman but a man. He's the only man in my book amongst 30 odd women, and really he's in there because he was talking about he was telling the story of his mother, Ganga, who passed away sadly in 2002. Vaidi is a very special individual to me and to anyone who knows him, really. And yesterday I read the chapter which had his story in my book. So if you had a chance to watch, you will have heard the story. And actually Vaidi's just joined me, so I'm just going to bring him onto the camera now, so give me a second. Okay, Vaidi, for some reason it's telling me that I can't bring you onto this camera, so it could be that something is not right, either the device you're using is not working, but let's keep trying. So while we try and get Vaidi on camera, I'm going to just tell you a little bit more about what we're going to be talking about today. So yesterday I read his story, and it will have given you a little bit more of a background on what happened to Vaidi over 26 years ago, and how it changed his life. But more importantly, the focus was on his mother, who was a pillar of strength and has been a huge figure in his life, giving him courage and strength. Okay, so I still can't get you on camera, Vaidi. I'm not sure what the problem is. In the past, what's happened is sometimes that the device that you are using will not allow you to come on camera, but I think you may have already tested it on someone else's Facebook Live, so I'm not sure why it's not working. We're going to keep trying. In the meanwhile, I'm just going to sort of lay the foundation of today's talk. So Ganga, although was not somebody who even managed to get much of formal education, was a very well-read woman, extremely strong-willed, in a very good way, I would say, with some clear principles which she instilled in her children. And Vaidi has, over time... Okay, I can now get Vaidi on corner any second now. So Ganga's story, to me, is a really important reminder. Hey, Vaidi.
Hi, Ravi.
How are you?
First class, very, very good.
Excellent. So
Absolutely
you can see me and you can hear me properly.
Absolutely, loud and clear.
Fantastic. So I was just talking a little bit about your mother, Ganga, and I was saying how she is such a reminder that there are so many women like her who may never get a chance to have a career, or get the kind of recognition that society gives to women who actually go out there and get jobs and prestige and all that. And yet, without women like her, we wouldn't be where we are, right? So I think her story was a representative of so many women out there, and I think we wanted to shout out and say that it's not just about getting financial independence and recognition. It's just about being there and making a difference to whoever touches your life.
Absolutely. I think that will be the story of 99% of women in India.
Yeah.
And especially in the villages. I think I've seen this time and time and again. You see great stories of people standing up and doing their very, very best with almost non-existent means. So that's the story, and I think that's how our family was also maybe 4 or 5 decades ago, and
Yeah.
as you've captured in the book.
So we've got a few people who've joined us live. So thank you if you're watching live. It's always nice to have live viewers. So we know you're there, and if you've got any comments, do please use the comments section below too if you want to ask any particular questions, or give us a thumbs up or reactions so we know you're there. Okay, so we're gonna start by asking Vaidi. It's been nearly 2 years, I think, since we had our conversation for both my blog and then for the story in the book. 2 years. In that 2 years, it feels like so much has happened for you in particular. So I would love for you to first tell us what have been the maybe the three most significant developments for you personally, and then maybe talk about for Ganga Trust and the Spinal Foundation.
For me personally, I think the three most important changes that have happened is I've gone to live a full range of in life. I mean, whether it is adventures such as scuba diving or swimming or floating on the seas, more marathons, more fitness, greater focus on ensuring a very good balance between work and life. I think that would be change number one. The second big change, I think, is that my story as a person with disability for 28 years has never ever been in the public domain, and I think for the first time, the blog made the story public. And I think to that extent, I think it's probably raised a little bit of enhanced sensitivity about uh, people with disabilities, people with spinal cord injury in particular, and the fact that you can lead a good life and uh, uh, live a full life. I think
Yeah.
that was the second big change I think that's happened, and I think that's happened across state, be it our batchmates, our juniors at IIM Bangalore, or other colleges, or people with spinal cord injury in different parts of India, and several of my other friends who probably never knew my story. Quite honestly, nobody uh, knew in detail what had happened. And that way, I was blessed because whether it is at IIM Bangalore or in my both my jobs, I think except for one instance where a foreigner came in and so the editor of the Hindu Business Line had to introduce me. Other than that, I don't ever recollect even one instance where uh, anybody spoke or asked me about my disability. I was very blessed to be accepted in such a wholesome manner, and I think uh, that was a good thing. And I think, but I think at some stage, people getting to know about it, it also is an eye opener for them.
Yeah.
And I think the third aspect is that I think since I started on this journey of trying to do my little bit for people with spinal cord injury in India, uh, there's been a view that I'm probably doing it from very comfortable position in the sense that I'm just doing it as some kind of a pastime kind of thing. I think that has changed in the last 2 years, and I think people are aware and people. Uh, uh, Not that I was seeking for that awareness, but I think at least it disabused the notion that I was doing this as a pastime and with all my material and non-material needs completely taken care of. And whereas the truth is that this journey since 2009 on a part-time basis till early 2013 and on full-time basis since then has involved significant trade-offs, significant sacrifices, significant changes to lifestyle, and so I think that awareness has crept in.
Yeah. And I actually recall, I mean, you obviously, I don't know what your vision was, and I'd love to hear what your vision was when you first started Ganga Trust back in 2009, and in 2013 when you gave up your corporate career to actually focus 100% on this. What was your vision for what you were trying to do? And it'd be really interesting to see what you've actually achieved today, how that compares to what you thought you would achieve in 5 years' time.
Yeah. In your book, there's a reference to the one of the two letters that Dr. Suranjan Bhattacharjee wrote to me. Dr. Suranjan was the head of the physical medicine rehabilitation department, and he means everything in my life. And what I am today, what I've been in the last 28 years, is entirely due to him. And but there was another letter that he wrote while I was at IIM Bangalore, and I actually stumbled upon it after we spoke regarding the book. And in that, he had clearly articulated the need that he felt that there has to be a strong organization that works for people with spinal cord injury in India.
Hmm.
And as you had mentioned in the book, Dr. Suranjan had told Ilango, who's my closest friend from the class of 91, and me, that we should do our bit in due course for people with disability. That thought was there, and I think when we started, we wanted to first be sure we are able to do well, and second, we wanted to be sure that we can impact as many lives as possible without splurging too much of money in the initial years. I think we have been, even today, we are a very modest level of organization in terms of the value of work. But I think what we have realized is in this particular space, people giving time is very, very important. And
Yeah.
happily, I think I've been able to do that. And several of my other friends with spinal cord injury, I mean, I've become friends with probably 2,500 plus people with spinal cord injury across the country, and many of them have also are also doing much more. And I mean, someone like Sailesh was probably doing significantly more than what I've probably ever done, and that's good. And when so much people start giving time, I think a lot of changes happen. I would
Yeah.
like to mention here that when it comes to people with spinal cord injury, if the history of people with spinal cord injury in India is written, there'll always be a pre Gajendra Negi and a post Gajendra Negi era. Gajendra Negi is a very, very young guy from Uttarakhand, and he was absolutely ravaged in the initial years, then fought his way, and he was the one who truly opened the doors of what is possible for people with spinal cord injury to do. He was blessed to have a person from US guiding him and training him and motivating him, and but he simply changed it. But that was Gajendra Negi 5 years ago, and in these 5 years, we have been blessed to have some 20 other guys at least who are making such kind of impact that Gajendra Negi did. But he will always go down as the dividing. It will be like a pre-Gajendra Negi and a post-Gajendra Negi era in terms of what are the possibilities for people with spinal cord injury in India. And
Yeah.
that very happy to see all these changes.
That's fantastic. I mean, we could talk about this for so long. There's so much that I still don't know, and I'm gonna after this I'm gonna go and Google Gajendra Negi and find out more about him. But I think from some of the things you're saying, Vaidi, that there's a couple of things that come out very powerfully for me. The one is that um, people with the best will in the world don't often know how to have a conversation with someone who's disabled, someone in a wheelchair. It's not always because they're being rude or they're ignoring them. It's almost like they don't know how to begin a conversation or how to say something that may potentially, they don't want to offend the person by maybe asking questions that may upset someone. So I think there's a huge need for education for people to understand that, what, just because someone's in a wheelchair does not mean that they're different. They're still a person. So is that the kind of work you guys are doing, where you're kind of helping people to become a little bit more aware so they can help to promote more inclusion of people with disabilities and people with injuries and spinal cord injuries in particular?
I mean, for the sake of bringing up to speed people who are probably watching or may watch this video, you will remember that when we had our 25th year reunion during the launch of IIM Path, this was one of the questions that came up. How do I
Yes.
start a conversation with a disabled person?
Yeah.
And my answer to that was, I have never considered myself a disabled person for 26 years, but I'll let Justin Jesudas answer that. And Justin, I think, very simply said, just treat us as equals. That's it. Say hello. I mean, you don't need to think about how to start a conversation. You just start a conversation the same way that you start with anybody else. And I think the moment you start treating people as equals and
Yes.
not as disabled or a person who's not having any disability, I think the moment those distinctions come in your mind, that is when there's a block for people. I think people should just accept everybody in society as equals. I mean, there's a young guy, Guddu Panwar in Delhi. He actually uses a low-level trolley for mobility, but that guy does 21 kilometers on a low-level trolley, pushing the trolley with his hands. And now, why would somebody like that need to be treated any differently? There's this famous video, that TED talk that one of the disabled young ladies in the US did. I'll probably post it in this link. She said, please don't, I'm not coming here to motivate you. I have
Yes,
not come here
I've
to
seen that.
inspire you. I think everybody, the moment you look at a person with disability, oh, inspiring, motivating, we are thrilled to see this, and even we can't do this. Just accept
Yeah,
us as usual.
yeah,
We do certain things in a different way, and you do certain things in a different way. That's it. But otherwise, every disabled person is as equally capable of everything as every non-disabled person is. And I think the moment we start sensitizing everybody right from school days to this possibility, I think there'll be a great change in attitudes, not just in countries such as India, but even the developed world where still attitudinal barriers are an issue.
absolutely. I think you're spot on. You know that to make create greater inclusion, you just need to look past the disability and just focus on what that person is able to do. And there's still so much. I mean, you just said earlier, you know, you've gone scuba diving. I've never gone scuba diving. I probably will never do because it's just not something I want to do. But the fact is that if you put your mind to it, it seems to me that you can do just about anything, right? And that's what we want people to appreciate, that it's all about mindset and the opportunity for people to show what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, I
So I
think
have a
equal
question.
opportunity in education
Sorry,
and
go on.
employment. Yeah. Equal opportunity in education and employment. The moment those two are ensured, I think a country such as India, which not by the government census estimates, but by the estimates of people who have been working in the disability space for several decades. I'm a novice in the space. There are we probably have about 100 million people with disability at least. That is more than the population of Japan. Imagine the potential that can be unleashed if all of them are given equal opportunities in education, employment, and everything else. And I mean, there's a huge base there that is waiting to be unleashed. And I hope India wakes up to it and we do it.
I think
Otherwise,
you're right, and of
the
course, you know
problem.
what you and your team are doing is, it may seem like a drop in the ocean, but you know the network effect that that could produce, and that's why I'm keen to get you to talk about what you have achieved in the last 2 years, because from what little I have seen, it's been tremendous, the progress you've made. So maybe you can just maybe give us, you know, the top three highlights of what you've achieved. And actually, before you do that, I just want to shout out, we've had a couple of people who've joined us, and if you're watching and you want to ask Vaidhi a question, or you want to make a comment, or show us you're there, you know, give us a thumbs up or a heart or something, so we know you're there. Yeah, sorry Vaidhi, please tell us about the three most significant things that have happened.
I think the three most significant things that have happened, I would probably take it a little, take the last 3 years, because I think for the most important work in which the Ganga Trust has been able to play a part has been the formation of the Spinal Foundation. In India, for about 30 to 35 years, there have been several exceptional individuals and several NGOs who have been working, doing their bit for people with spinal cord injury and maybe across disabilities, but in a localized way in different pockets of India. But there was not a single pan-India body that could articulate this. And I think about 1.5 years of spade work with the support of exceptional people such as Dr. Komal Kamba and Justin and Nitin Goyal, people like that. I think we were able to string together the Spinal Foundation as an organization, and happily, this has today led to state level leaders and core teams in every major state in India, with the exception of Gujarat for all the brouhaha, and Chhattisgarh. And but we are getting people in Gujarat in as well. Hopefully, in next 1 2 years, there should be some good team there. But I think that's been the second big part, and the second area that I think where uh, I believe we have had very good impact is nurturing, developing, and uh, the now moving Sailesh to Sailesh Kumar is a small young boy from a village near Gaya in Bihar, and he's probably India's most independent person with spinal cord injury. And getting him to become an excellent peer trainer, traveling across the country, the effect has been phenomenal. Yesterday, for instance, he was at for the first time in Uttarakhand in Herbertpur. there was a get together of people with spinal cord injury, and the doctor who organized it message saying that the kind of effect that he had was mesmerizing. And
Hmm.
we hope to have, our vision is to have, we probably have at least 10 people like that now. From one silage like person about 3 years ago to about 10 now, we wish to have about 50 people like that. And I think the kind of impact that will have is will be very, very significant. And the third area where we have made significant progress is in uh, creating awareness about best practices, uniform best practices across the country. And here I would like to singularly mention the great contribution made by Dr. Anand Vishwanathan, who used to work with Christian Medical College Vellore and is now in your part of the world. He actually is in the Sheffield Teaching Hospital. He's done a phenomenal job in ensuring that all peer counselors across India have the best in class resources to train people. And as an initiative that we have just launched 2 days ago is to have regional language websites of the Spinal Foundation in 12 different languages. Now, once
Gotcha.
we do that, I think the effect is going to be very significant because uh, in India, vernacular searches significantly outnumber English language searches on Google, and smartphone is going to be the way to reach these people. And we hope to develop these websites more as mobile sites and reach people.
And
So
how
these,
much help are you getting? Because obviously this is a huge project. I can't even begin to imagine. Because you said, I think there's about 10 to 15,000 spinal cord injury cases every year. I mean, that probably understates the actual scale of the problem. There's probably lots more that people don't hear about. How are you getting sort of corporates to help you with specific things, whether it's creating websites, or I mean, how much of that are you able to delegate and outsource and collaborate on?
we've been we have moved. I mean, the Ganga Trust has moved from a completely volunteer-based organization to an organization that has about a 10-member team. Four of them, including, still doing their roles completely on a voluntary basis. But expanding this team is developing this team has meant that we are doing more activities. We're able to take up more projects that will work. Corporate response has been very good. I think whether it is the formation of facilitating the setting up of the Chandigarh Spinal Rehab or the Odisha Spinal Rehab, which probably will go live in about 9 months from now, corporate support is encouraging. We have been actually uh, playing that part a little cautiously because we want to identify the right people, the right projects, and do it. Because all it takes is one bad project, and all the good work can get completely undone. So
Yeah.
we are going a little slow on that front, but we'll see significant progress in the next 5 to 10 years. I think I always remember what Dr. Suranjan told me in 2010. In this type of work, please don't worry about the pace at which you're doing. Even if things happen in a slow and sure manner, steady manner, as long as they happen well, that is what is important.
Yeah.
And a lot of people ask me, how's your work impacting uh, uh, the people with spinal cord injury in India? When I say your work, I don't mean individually, I mean collectively, the various organizations and exceptional individuals who are under the umbrella of the Spinal Foundation. I always tell them whatever benefits accrue to the present generation of people with spinal cord injury, that will be like an icing on the cake. But what we really hope is by 2025 or latest by 2030, every single person who sustains a spinal cord injury in India gets good quality rehabilitation, good quality wheelchairs, gets great opportunities for livelihood. And that is when the Spinal Foundation will be able to do what peer organizations in the US, UK, and Canada do, where they are working at cutting edge research, cutting edge lifestyles, and truly empowering the people in the various ways. But I think in India, even for the next foreseeable 5 to 10 years, we will be grappling with very, very basic issues, which probably became a thing of the past in the UK maybe 30 years ago.
Hmm. And in terms of your team, how many of them are themselves, have suffered from spinal cord injury? Because that's always it's a great way to show that inclusion begins you know, from your organization itself.
Our team now has three people with spinal cord injury who are doing work. Sailesh, and there's one gentleman who does home visits in Tamil Nadu, and there's one person who's come on board recently on a voluntary basis, but not he won't be on a voluntary basis for too long. He's going to be the anchor person for the 12 regional language websites of the Spinal Foundation, and he's going to be leading that project. And extraordinarily, I think we chanced upon a person with not spinal cord injury but brittle bones who had studied only till class 2, and after that dropped out of school for the fear of sustaining fractures. So we discovered him about say 9 months ago, and he's now become a very significant back-end person for the Ganga Trust, taking care of creating databases, typing out stuff. He'll be maintaining our images archive, and we hope to upgrade his skills significantly. And he's for the first time he came out and participated in the marathon. He's even done a scuba diving training program in Chennai.
Amazing.
So after 20 to 25 years at home, we are very, I mean, that's probably been one of our real highlights, getting Naresh to be on board with us. And his family was wonderful in that they created all the possibilities for him to at least keep himself abreast of what's happening around him, and also upgrading himself with skills on the computer. And he was given an equal opportunity inside the home, and I think that's really resulted in him coming out, and I see him becoming good. And I think our work will keep increasing with more and more people with spinal cord injury as the part of the core. Of course, Justin Vijay Jesudas, whom you know, and several of the people on this chat on both our common friend list will know. He's been the real brain power behind several of the initiatives of the Ganga Trust, including the Kotak Wheelchair Marathon. And I think everything that we do has the imprint of Justin. So we are very driven by people of the world.
So it's clear to me that when somebody's given an opportunity and you show belief in them, they can blossom. I mean, and there's a real message here for, corporates who could quite easily, have jobs that anyone with a disability could do, because after all, a physical disability does not in any way hamper your mental skills, or if you're going to be doing a job that's computer based, how does it matter whether you have the use of your legs or not? So I mean, I know a lot of your work has also been targeted at corporates, trying to encourage them to look at the way they have diversity in their teams. Have you made a lot of progress there? I mean, what's been the greatest challenge, do you think?
Yeah, I still think that people with disability, even passing out of IIMs, still have issues with finding jobs or finding an equal opportunity, career opportunity growth. And yes, people do, a lot of organizations do employ people with disability, which is a far cry from what it was 25 years ago, but it's still not where it should be. And I still think there's a lot of hesitation, there's a lot of unwillingness, and even some of the recruitments that happen are probably driven by government regulations or to be seen as looking nice. I think that should change, and they should realize that in the ranks of people with disability, I mean, across disabilities in India, they will find amazing talents. Absolutely. Yeah. There's no reason why they should not explore this, and they just need to connect with the right people, the right organizations, and I think you'll find significant changes. And a lot of times people think accessibility is should be the first thing that they do. Whenever I go to any place, I say, boss, even if there's 4 steps, I don't worry. I know how to do it, or I know how to get people to carry. I mean, you're never short of people in India, and that's a great thing. And people will happily support you and carry you or do whatever. Of course, if you have a ramp, it's fine, but you don't need to wait till you have ramps and accessible washrooms in place before you start engaging with people with disability. Engage with people with disability, and then automatically the changes within your organization will come in 6 months to 1 year's time.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, with IIM Bangalore now, we have started a significant project where 5 people with spinal cord injury in different parts of India are going to be translating their massive open online course curriculum into Hindi, and we hope to eventually take over other languages as well. And now, I just wish many organizations, all of them send their HR and top level people to do a visit at IIM Bangalore and see what they have truly done. And I think that will open their eyes to what all of them can do.
Well, maybe that's something you could push for them to do. It's easily done. I mean, IIM Bangalore is a well-respected institution and people will come. So I think it's a great idea. You heard it here first, people, if you're watching. But you're right, Vaidi. I think a lot of the times the changes that are needed are actually really quite simple. And people don't even know that those are the changes that are needed unless they actually put themselves into the shoes or into into the mind of somebody with a disability, and actually engaging with them is the simplest way to make those changes, which probably don't cost a huge amount of money. I mean, putting a little ramp outside your home so a wheelchair can come in isn't actually a huge burden, is it? And the benefits from that can be absolutely huge.
Absolutely. I always tell, wherever I go, I tell people, please watch this video of Accenture in Argentina. I can probably post the link here. The kind of work that they have done to engage uh, people with extreme disabilities and different types of extreme disabilities, and they all come to the office and work. It's quite phenomenal. And so when you see something like that, I think you realize it's not expensive.
No.
Money is not an issue at all, and it's not going to cost much to make life equal for in terms of opportunities for people with disability. You will the economic gains will significantly be higher, and the socio-psychological gains will be only an addition to the benefits. And
Absolutely.
I think in India at the board level, I mean, there's been a movement towards inducting women into the board. I think when we have when at least the top 50 companies, if they have at least one disabled person as a special invitee to their board meetings, that will be a good starting step. That will open the eyes of the CEO, of the board, and I think that step, I think, will go a long way.
Yeah.
Actually, the government has done a lot. I think, for instance, uh, if the thinking at the top level is good, Tamil Nadu is a great example of what can be done. In this previous tenure of Jayalalitha, every single public toilet in Tamil Nadu, every single public toilet, whether it is in Chennai or in a small village, anywhere in Tamil Nadu, is publicly accessible, is completely accessible. Every single Amma canteen, which is a canteen that offers decent quality, low, very affordable food, is completely accessible. Now, if the direction from the leadership uh, can lead to this kind of a massive statewide change, you understand what if the CEO of a company say the CEO of a bank says, in the next 6 months, make every ATM accessible. It's a very easy thing to do. It's not expensive at all. And so I think disability needs to become high in the pecking order of organizations. They can have people with disability as part of the board, or at least as special invitees to their board meetings at least once or twice a year, so that there's sensitivity. And I think it will also lead to a better quality of spending of CSR money, rather than just doing certain things which look nice on paper, but which probably are not addressing the real needs. And
Yes.
though I won't take names, I've come across several instances where the stress is so much on doing anything that is physical, any physical infrastructure, they are good to go. Whereas in the disability space, what India needs is investment in quality rehabilitation, and that is investment in human resources, investment in good quality therapists, good quality nursing staff who are tuned to disability. We all go and admire a dance by blind children. At the backstage, you go and ask how much is the teacher of the children who taught them the dance is learning. She'll probably be learning 8,000 rupees a month.
Yeah.
So that needs to change. Investment in soft skills in the disability space in India is what will categorically change the landscape for disabled people in India. Everything else comes after that. I think if you don't have proper rehabilitation, what does accessibility mean?
Yes.
Even today, all accessibility is only for the top elite 1% of disabled people in India For the rest, it doesn't mean anything. I think they all need to be properly well rehabilitated, well trained to go out to the outside world and do well.
I agree with you because the cost to society of not doing it is huge, isn't it? I mean, it's probably it's especially in countries like the UK where you have the NHS and the state, the welfare system takes the burden of health costs and things. If a disabled person who wants to work is not being given a job, their mental well-being is going to suffer, and that's eventually going to cost society money. And I think that makes sense everywhere, whether it's in a welfare system like the UK or in places like India. There's a huge socio-economic cost. Betty, can you just tilt your camera a little bit so we can see your face, because at the moment, yeah, that's much better. So what I wanted to do was actually just maybe talk a little bit about another sort of case study or a real life story of success story of how you have impacted a life. And I know of at least one instance where with your help he is now at IIM Bangalore and he's got an amazing job offer at the end of it. Would you like to talk about that? Because those stories is what
I
inspires
really think that
others.
I really think that my role in Jaskaran Singh, whatever he has done, is extremely very limited. I think it's very limited to the extent of only making a visit to IIM Bangalore and just making sure that the faculty was appraised of all his all the specific things that he'll need. Other than that, he's an absolutely brilliant and extremely sensible person who has worked very hard to get to where he is. My role in that is extremely limited. I think for me, the real, I mean, if there's a single story, it'll probably be Sailesh, but I think it's know a fair bit, people know about Sailesh a fair bit. I think about the story of Deepak Sharma. I think Deepak Sharma came to our notice about maybe 3.5 or 4 years ago via WhatsApp, and he connected with Gajendra Negi, and Gajendra Negi sent the first pictures of Deepak Sharma. He was 4 years since his injury, and he was in an absolutely rabid state from a small village in Siwan in Bihar. No hair, no health yet. So then we spoke. He had to be transported very carefully. There were no promises made of anything that will happen in his life because he was in such bad shape with deep pressure ulcers, and he's probably the second worst pressure ulcer case that I have seen. And when Dr. Henry Prakash saw him for the first time in Christian Medical College, Vellore, he texted me, Vaidi, saying he has no sacrum. I almost can't do anything. But Dr. Henry Prakash did a great job of restoring his skin, and in 3 to 4 months, he was in top shape. He went back home. We told him very clearly, boss, this is the easiest part. For the next 1 year, even if you don't do anything, just make sure you don't sustain a skin break. He did that, was very disciplined.
Ferdy, can I just
Then he
pause
started
for a
a
second?
roadside shop on a sharp boy, and today he has a small shop, and very happily he is on the verge of getting married. And just day before yesterday, we had a chat on the sexual implications of spinal cord injury and all the things that he needs to know, and his wife also needs to know. I think Deepak Sharma for me will probably be the single story in terms of, I mean, there was almost no chance of him surviving, I think. But from there to be where he is today, I think has been remarkable.
That's amazing. I was just going to say, just one of the things that perhaps wasn't, the sound wasn't very clear, is that one of the dangers for people with spinal cord injuries that because they are lying in one place for such a long time that they end up with bed sores. And that's where you're talking about the skin, where you get sores and they get ulcerated, and there's a real danger to life as a result of that. Is that right?
Absolutely. See, it's not a pressure ulcers is not a problem just in India. Even in the UK, there are studies published that say pressure ulcers cost maybe anywhere between 15 to 25 billion pounds a year. It's a huge amount of money in the US and UK. Worldwide, pressure ulcer management will probably be one of the most high cost imposed by bad medical care. And pressure ulcer prevention is actually very simple. And if the entire world follows what is done at Christian Medical College, Vellore, I think you will move to a very, very low cost method of preventing pressure ulcers, and even if people get pressure ulcers, to a very low cost method of managing and healing those pressure ulcers. Unfortunately, we have very fancy treatment methods which are real. And the sad thing is, I mean, as Dr. Anand Vishwanathan once mentioned to me, MBBS students in India, even today, they study about pressure ulcers only in passing. They study about pressure ulcers. That's it. They don't know how to manage pressure ulcers in the context of a paralysis or in an acute care. So I think right from the MBBS curriculum, everything should change, and I think the curriculum should, as far as pressure ulcer management, I think the best practices of Christian Medical College Vellore deserve to become the best practices across the world. Very low cost and very effective and fantastic results.
That's great. Now, I'm conscious that I've taken up more than the half an hour I said of your time, and we could carry on talking for hours. It's so interesting. But I think what I want to do is maybe end with just one or two things that you would like to, tell our viewers about how they can help. Obviously, if they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you? Would it be via Facebook, or through your website? And also, if there is something that they want to do in their own community to make a difference, or to make people with disabilities feel a little less excluded, what would your message be?
I think the best way to get in touch would be uh, uh, WhatsApp. I'm increasingly becoming more tuned to being as live on Facebook Messenger as possible, and I'll strive to be reachable in multiple ways. So just you can connect me on any platform. My mobile numbers are very, very there on on my Facebook page. People can call me, and I think uh, just as the class of 1992 and the class of 1991 at IIM Bangalore have been playing major role in helping us scale up the footprint of our work, there's a lot that people everywhere could do in joining us in partnership. For instance, we'd like to partner with the Spinal Injury Association UK. If somebody here on this conversation can facilitate that, that will be great. And anybody and everybody, I think the three areas where we will need support are one is creative work, because visually designed materials tend to carry healthcare practices in a much more effective way.
Yeah.
And second, we would definitely like to uh, keep constantly working at the cutting edge of technology now and in the future, so that we are able to reach the most number of people. I mean, about 500 million people in India are likely to have a smartphone in about 2 years from now. And the smartphone is increasingly going to become the way to reach healthcare. And that's a second area where we would like support. The third is networking. Now, networking can be anything. Networking can be for connecting people with sports, connecting people with other rehabilitation experts. Like a lot of the rehab centers in the UK may be discarding their equipments and replacing them once in 3 years. Now, those equipments may be used in India for the 20, 25 years. If somebody can facilitate that, somebody can facilitate doing awareness programs, like just if each of our IIM alumni decides to support and facilitate an event at his or her hometown in India, we would be
Yeah.
able to create awareness on injury prevention across the country in a very, very effective way. And September 5th is, and the first week of September is the World Spinal Cord Injury Day, and that can become a part of the anchor awareness programs of corporate sector organizations, and they can very easily reach out across the country. In India, there are several companies that have deep footprint in rural India, and they need to just devote a few hours of their employees' time once or twice in a year to do these awareness programs. It doesn't take much.
And what's
And
been the greatest challenge for you in getting your message across at the moment? Obviously, time may be one thing because there's only one of you and there's only 24 hours in a day. But other than that, any other challenges that perhaps, if you put it out there, we might be able to find a way to overcome those?
see, the best way, not just spinal cord injury, if any, I mean, I mentioned that how quality rehabilitation and investment in soft skills is going to be the key way forward. Along with that, the second most important thing that the government must do is the government must make it mandatory for every doctor and every hospital in India to report any type of disability that they come across. And we have a disability-wise registry so that we know where all the blind people, where exactly each blind person is, where exactly each person who is hearing challenges, where exactly every spinal cord injured person is, where exactly every person the moment we know that, I mean, today, if I know that the 10 people who have got sustained spinal cord injury in the last half an hour, we would be, if we get to know about them in the first 1-2 days, our peer counselors across the country, which is a rising number, will be able to provide good guidance to ensure that they don't suffer secondary complications in the first 1 month after the injury, which is the biggest risk.
Yes.
So that disability-wise registry is a very simple thing to do. We have written to the government. We are willing to invest and in the technology that is needed to do it. And once it's done for one disability, it can be easily replicated for other disabilities. The reason that India was so successful in working with polio and eradicating polio is that the government made sure that we knew where every person with polio was, and that made for a transformative database. That database is very, very important.
There
Canada
is
has it. Canada has it. The Chris Hansen Foundation knows
Hmm.
exactly where each of the 40,000 plus people with spinal cord injury in Canada are. Now, imagine if we know that for every disability in India, there are enough organizations who would be able to simply pull out all these people and make them very useful and integrate them into the community and become a part of the nation building process.
Yeah. And just one final question from me, Vaidi. The difference between what the Ganga Trust does and what the Spinal Foundation does, is the Ganga Trust more wide in its approach to physical disability, or because Spinal Foundation obviously is focused on people with spinal cord injuries. Is that the
See,
difference, or is there more?
no, the Spinal Foundation is the Pan India organization for people with spinal cord injury. Its objectives and its body of work, let's say by 2030, will be significantly more than the work of the Ganga Trust. The Ganga Trust will become will be facilitating a small part of the work or small accomplishment of a small part of the objectives of the Spinal Foundation. So
But
we would become a
what is
small
Ganga Trust? What is the objective of the Ganga Trust that is different to what the Spinal Foundation is doing?
No, see, there are several organizations such as the Ganga Trust working for people with spinal cord injury in different parts of India. But if you really want to have an impact, I think you need a national level organization. When you go to the government or when you go to the corporate sector, we must speak with single voice on what are the prime needs. Otherwise,
Right.
20 different NGOs from different parts will go and each will have their own priority of needs. Of course, they need to be addressed, but there are big basic macro needs in India that need to be addressed. And that is where I think the Spinal Foundation speaking as a single voice is helpful. And I think our Delhi team, led by Dr. Komal Kamra, has been doing great work in that. And like for the Kotak Wheelchair Marathon, the Kotak group very specifically said we would like the partnership for the event to be with the Spinal Foundation, because we see that as the larger organization. So, and that's how the Ganga want the Spinal Foundation to be. It's just that we played a role in facilitating it and we play a role in part funding it. But the Spinal Foundation will become a much larger organization. The Ganga Trust will probably focus on a few objectives that are a subset of objectives of the Spinal Foundation. Primary being enabling the emergence of good quality rehabilitation centers. That will probably be the Ganga Trust focus. The Spinal Foundation will be into various things from advocacy to everything else that the Spinal Injury Association UK does and more.
Okay, that's brilliant. So what I would suggest is that in our comments below, Vaidi, if you could put any relevant links, whether it's to your website or if you want to give your mobile number so people can get in touch with you direct via WhatsApp or otherwise, then if you could do that, then it means that anyone watching this video, if they think there's something they would like to contribute towards the cause, then they know how to get in touch.
I'll do that. I'll put in all the relevant links to connect. I'll put in all the relevant other story ideas that I mentioned during the course of the conversation, so that people are aware of it. I'll also answer some of the questions that have been posted by some of the people who are
Oh,
answered
actually, you know
on
what?
the
Let's
chat.
do that now because I'm so sorry. I asked people to give us questions and I didn't. It's very
I think
rudely have
Nirupama
completely
Kaushik's
ignored
question
that.
was, does disability set one free of fears and but I don't think you need a disability to set yourself free of your fears and inhibitions. I think that is more in the mind. I think it is just that a person with disability on a day-to-day basis deals with so many challenges that anything else that is thrown at him will seem like a routine child's play.
Yeah.
So disability does not set, disability need not be. I think it's just that the way we are as people, we need to set ourselves free.
So
There's a
the other
question
question,
that,
yeah, sorry, go on, Vaidi.
yeah,
Of course.
Shishir Bhatnagar has asked, what is the liability of hospitals if pressure ulcer develops during hospitalization? More than the liability, I think we have a very basic task in educating all hospitals across the country on the simple and basic ways of managing, preventing, and if pressure ulcers occur, how to treat them. We are doing a project along with National Institute of Design with one of our volunteers, Paula Sila Joshua, who is an alumnus there, and that is under the findings are under test everywhere, and we are getting a lot of that. And we hope to be having a complete platform on pressure ulcer management in India in the form of a website and a mobile app in about 9 to 12 months from now. And the same way the UK has stopped the pressure, we would like to have this, and we'd like to do a massive education campaign around this. Liability, I think it's very tough, and I think that's a high second or third level battle. I think first is to make doctors, nurses, and other paramedic staff aware of the basics of pressure ulcer management, and pressure ulcer healing.
Hmm. So there's a comment from my friend Mridula who's saying that her mum works for the Fellowship of Physically Handicapped, which is an NGO in Mumbai. And they provide some vocational training to people with disabilities. And she says she's very happy to connect you with her. I think that's a really good idea. You know, you can
Absolutely.
expand your network of people who are
Yeah.
helping. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we can do that offline. Thank you very much for that, Ruby. Yeah, so I think I can't see any other questions or comments unless you can see any, Vaidi.
No, I don't think so.
So so thank you so much for all of the viewers who joined us live, and also for those of you who are going to watch this on replay. We have had a slightly longer session that I normally would go for, but I think we had so much to talk about, and it's been really interesting and valuable insight from Vaidi. And I think all of us, you know, in our everyday life can do a little bit to make people feel more included, you know, whether it's someone with in a wheelchair or someone who's blind or, you know, visually impaired or hearing impaired. You know, we can all do our bit. And I think sometimes it's just about empathy, isn't it? Just putting ourselves in their shoes to see how life can be made easier for them. So with that, do you have any closing comments you want to make, Vaidi, and then we can finish this live chat?
Closing comment, I think before that, I think somebody has just posted a question. The reason very few people are able to get into universities and colleges, and I think the reason is, I think uh, unless we have good quality rehabilitation for people with any type of disability from an early stage where they are identified with the disability, I think it will be very difficult for them to move ahead with schooling and further employment or training for that in a very efficient manner. I think that is why wherever I go, I never buy this talk of accessibility, quota in jobs, all these things. I think India as a country must place quality rehabilitation number one on its agenda forever. And once that is done, everything else will fall in place. And it doesn't take much. Like in that the India Inclusion Summit in 2016, I just gave a stat. If Infosys were to spend 50 crore, which is uh, less than 3% of its CSR budget, they would be able to engage 100 physiotherapists, 100 occupational therapists, 50 physiatrists or doctors who specialize in rehabilitation at excellent salaries. If India can offer careers in many, many areas such as financial services, IT, and even hotels and other areas, why don't we offer? Why don't we make India a great place for high quality rehabilitation professionals to work? Physiotherapists, occupational therapists, nurses, peer mentors, peer counselors, and I'm speaking for across disability and not spinal cord injury here. Unless we do that, Raja Rajshekar, I think everything else will fall in, not fall in place. I think that needs to be done. So that's the one thing. My closing comment would be, please do not look at any disabled person in a different way. Please look at them as exactly your equal. Start a conversation and see where, give them the opportunities, and then see. Don't worry about what their needs at the workplace may be. All that will be a child's play to deal with. The moment you do that, the moment you give equal opportunity in every sense, uh, right from your mind to doing everything else that will be needed along the way for that person to work. If each of us can provide equal opportunity by looking at what Accenture Argentina does, I think the life of people with disability in India will change in a transformative way in 10 to 15 years.
So that video is another one that we should post in the comments for people.
Absolutely. I will do that.
If you've already got that, then please do, Vaidi. So I want to shout out to everyone who's joined us and been commenting. Arjun Singh Rathore, thank you very much. Raja, Kaushik, Shishir, Bhatnagar, and there's small comments and I can't see the names right now, but really appreciate having so many of you participate in this call, and I hope that we've started a conversation. I think this is by all means just a beginning, right? We need to have more of these kind of conversations, and I think it'd be great to get more of your team to come and talk to us about their experiences and how they have gone out there and made it possible for somebody who may feel that their life is over. When you have a life-changing accident like you did, I mean, you had an amazing mindset where you immediately kind of thought, well, what can I do, what can I not do? Whereas for a lot of people it feels like the end of the world, and I think it needs people like you and some of the others you talked about who have made it across, and shown that it is possible to have a almost normal life, that it's not the end of the world, and you just need a little bit of help and support and belief to get there. And I think these kind of videos and conversations are going to help to do that. So I thank you very much, Vaidi, for your time, and to all the people who've joined in and helped make this live a success.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks for the opportunity, and I think thanks for the visibility that you're creating for the cause of disability in India, and all the wonderful work that you're doing in a very quiet way here in India. Thanks a lot, and we are deeply grateful for that. Thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure, and I'm hoping that at the end of this call, you'll have some more connections, and to grow that network, because I'm a huge believer in collaboration and networks. And I think you're doing just the right thing, getting these peer mentors, and people are going to go out there on the ground and actually spread the message, because that's what you need. Because you as an individual can only do so much, right? And I as an individual can only do so much. And I think that's where the power of networks come in. So let's, if you're still listening or watching, please think about who you can connect to Vaidi and his team to take this message forward and make life a little bit better for people with disabilities. So with that, I'm going to call it a day, and wherever you are, whatever you're doing, have an amazing time. Thanks, Vaidi. Bye for now.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Good. Bye.